Hey guys, it's 11/13/2020, and I just wanted to just kind of point out some stuff. The Lord had woke me up in the middle of the night and started speaking to me and showing me the utter hypocrisy and just bringing it to my heart, and almost as if he was saying that this is what we need to emphasize. Okay. And really, when you see the brainwashing and the programming, I mean, it's just like unreal. I mean, I've never in my life seen so much, blatant, bold-faced lies, just straight-up lies, touted as the facts and the truth, and with so much Saul Alinsky type tactics. Accuse the enemy of being what you are. Okay, that's all that's going down here for the most part. Accuse the enemy of being what you are. That's a Saul Alinsky tactic. If you read Saul Alinsky, he was a change agent. He was a community organizer, much like Obama and many communists. You find that term in communist socialist countries. Community organizers, handlers is really what they are. But the brainwashing is on this level, and I have this on the screen. And let me just make sure my screen is sharing. Okay, so check this out. So war is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength. Okay, this is the level and the nature of the brainwashing. It's to this degree. And if you read George Orwell's 1984, that's where this is coming from. Big Brother's watching you, okay? So just when we look at America and we look at the architecture of our government and how it's set up, we have the judicial, legislative, executive, Congress, and we have, voting rights, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and all these things that America was based off of. But what they don't tell you in school is the key central fact. It's the central fact at overthrowing and dealing with the true enemies, okay? Those that are truly attacking us and have declared a war against the civilian populations of the world. And they even write about it in the NASA war document. And then we have Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars PDF that you can download online, or you can go to stopthecrime.net and download it from Deborah Taveras' website. Okay. But nevertheless, no matter what you think about what Deborah Taveras says, the documents are there for anybody to look at. Okay. The stated declared war that I've been talking about for the last, since 9/11, and basically since the community-based policing programs, I have been talking about how they are going for broke and how they are going to roll out hardcore communism. And we started seeing this in the churches. We started seeing it with the clergy response teams. We started seeing it with Homeland Security and FEMA working with the local pastors to spy on the community, spy on your neighbor. Okay, and we were speaking against it back then. And we thought, these guys are just hirelings. They have no true love for the sheep, in other words, John chapter 10. And that's what we've seen in the church today in America. But I mean, this is the level of brainwashing. 1933 or 1984, George Orwell. And if you've not read the book, they do have the book on audio that you can listen to online. And I suggest everybody listen to it, because that's exactly where we're moving towards. And, with a government that says 2 + 2 = 5, when we all know it equals 4, but they will torture you and beat you down until, in a war of attrition, basically, until you say it's 5. Okay, that's basically where we're going. Okay, so I just wanted to, this is just for my brothers and sisters out there that are exposing stuff. I wanted to just bring this to your attention. Okay, so, but I wanted to go over here and we can see, and I hope my screen is sharing. I've been having some problems with my screen sharing, so here we go. But let's look at this. Karl Marx was a horrific racist. Here are the quotes to prove it. I mean, here we've got Black Lives Matter, and their founders, I mean, at the top are Marxists. They even are stated Marxists, as we can see right here in this New York Post article. Black Lives Matter co-founder describes herself as a trained Marxist. Okay, so Black Lives Matter co-founder Patrisse Cullors said in a newly surfaced video from 2015 that she, and so it's been going on for some time, as I've been saying, under the war on terror, they have abused and misused the terrorism laws in order to draw journalists, whistleblowers, gun owners, anything America, anything constitutional, anything that is good and decent and proper. They just basically, want to call into question and assault and batter that which is America. We have the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and we are a republic. So, and this constant, the politicians constantly saying, we're in a democracy, democracy, democracy. That's not what this is. That's not what America is. America is a republic. And, that's part of the communist brainwashing. And there's quotes from Marx and many other leaders of communism that talk about democracy being the pathway or the road to socialism or communism, because mob rule. It's mob rule. So, but she's a trained Marxist, making clear their movement's ideological foundation, according to the report. Now, here she loves Marx, right? This lady, she's just so into Marx and a trained Marxist, I'm so sure really well researched. Most of these people, they just read the Communist Manifesto and that's it. They don't go into Engels and Marx and the letters that Marx was sending back to Engels, who is basically his financier, but Marx hated blacks, okay? And we're going to show that and how much he despised them and he hated them majorly. Now, you got to ask yourself a question. How can a lady that believes in her culture and believes in fighting for social justice and rights for her ethnicity, okay? How could she overlook and follow the ideology of someone that hates blacks more than anybody I've ever read about, okay? So how is this connection being adhered to? How can these two opposites, these polar opposites, hold together? She's obviously a smart woman. She obviously, knows what Karl Marx is all about. Okay, so, and this is a common thing. What they do in our government is they basically take, just because this woman is black, and they, people are so dumbed down today, they're just into race politics. So it's if you're a woman, I vote for you because you're a woman, and if you're black, I vote for you because you're the same color as me. That's the level that we've all been dumbed down to, and it's just the bottom line. But these are for example, this lady right here, who is one of the co-founders of Black Lives Matter. Got to ask yourself, why is she a Marxist? Not just a Marxist, but a trained Marxist, okay? Okay, now let's go over here and just take a look. Communist racist, how Marx despised blacks, okay? So we'll just look at this. The Black Lives Matter BLM movement began as a response to police brutality, but protesters soon sparked a long-delayed conversation about structural racism, persistent inequality, and the long history of white supremacy that has enabled injustice to persist. So again, these are the social justice causes behind a lot of these groups, structural racism, persistent inequality, okay, and so on. So, but while the BLM movement initiated an overdue conversation about racism, yeah, because there is real racism, but it missed one of the biggest racist thinkers of modern history, the father of communism, Karl Marx. For those who are under the false impression that Marx viewed everyone as equals, because that's the utopia, that's how they sell the communism to the masses, okay, that are ignorant. They sell it like everything's free, it's just a utopia for all, and everyone will be equal. Here are some of his views on blacks, Jews, Mexicans, and Indians, okay? Now, these aren't my views. These are Karl Marx views, and it's just kind of funny how BLM, if you don't think BLM is a state-controlled product produced by our government in order to create the Hegelian dialectic of problem, reaction, solution, of playing two opposing forces off against each other for the solution, okay? And that solution is giving up our rights, all of it, okay? That's what will be the solution. But Marx enthusiastically supported the work of French ethnologist Pierre Trameau to caricature the African community as backward people. In a letter Marx wrote to his peer Friedrich Engels, he states that Trameau has scientifically proven that the common Negro type is the degenerate from a much higher one. Ingalls, in his notes to During, argues that the concept of acquitted characteristics extended from individuals to species, and that it would be difficult to teach an Australian Black about mathematical axioms. Their racial notions saw support from Cuban dictator Fidel Castro, who said in 1952 in a memoir, the Motorcycle Diaries, and you can go look that up, that a Black person is lazy and indolent, while the European is intelligent and forward-looking. Okay, so if you don't think these guys are racist, and I'm not going to get into Karl Marx and his hatred for his own, I mean, he hated the Jews, he hated Latinos. I mean, this guy had a seething hatred, okay? But you have to ask yourself, if you think that these people, and if you haven't studied communism and you look at history and you can see these supposed grassroots movements rise up in an organized way, and you know, they are against race, okay? And what they've done through Marx is redefine America as racist through, you know, Howard Zinn type training, and redefine America as just racist, okay? When you've got, and then as the solution, you want to bring one of the most racist dudes on the planet that was ever to live, and you want to bring his ideology and his teaching and his dogma and doctrine, and you're telling me you're a grassroots movement. Communism is for the state to have all. It's that monopoly. It's for, you know, big money titans. You know what I mean? Communism isn't for the 99%. Okay, it's not. It's a way of transferring wealth. Okay, from the majority to the minority. That's all it is. It's a lever of control to transfer wealth. Okay, as they sell you the utopia that everything will be equal and we'll have everything. Okay, and all we have to do is look at recent history of what lies those are. And then furthermore, these state groups create the opposition, they create their enemies and play them off against themselves. Okay, so that's what we have going on, like in the city of Portland and all these liberal cities that have gone communist. The government, Homeland Security, and FEMA that run the country train Black Lives Matter, train Antifa, okay, in revolutionary tactics. So you can thank them when you see pallets of bricks on the side of the road just sitting there. You can thank them when you see the organized, you know, attacks on patriots, conservatives, Christians, gun owners, and alike. Because the MIAC report in 2012, which was a federal training document that FEMA and Homeland Security were training the local sheriff's office that George Washington was a terrorist. Okay, I've shown the video. I've shown the video. You know, folks, we got to stop obeying. You see this? You see this? This is just one of the documents I'm reading right now. Okay, and this is called The Politics of Obedience, the Discourse of Voluntary Servitude. We got to stop giving consent to a bunch of psychopathic narcissists who use gaslighting, misdirection, blame shifting, you know, sabotage of property, of livelihood, of everything that you have worked for. Okay, and on the one hand, we've got the law enforcement closing down businesses for COVID-19, but at the same time, if you don't close down, then we got Black Lives Matter that will, you know, just randomly select you even though you haven't done anything. You're probably a white business owner, so here comes the brick. You know what I mean? So it's just total misdirection and complete wheels within wheels, okay? But Karl Marx was a horrific racist. Now, it makes you wonder, like the leader, are you sure you really like Black people? Are you sure that a lot of these groups aren't just to set innocent, well-meaning, well-doing Black people up? I mean, because you can see this with any group that grows. I mean, if you're trying to tell me that in America, with these control freaks that run things, if you're trying to tell me that a group can start grassroots and grow and have influence and not be infiltrated by the government, you got some, I mean, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know what to say to you. Okay, so the government creates these groups, and you can see the history of this in communism, where the government funds and creates and arms these proxy armies for the politicians, okay? These are proxy armies, and remember, we can hold Obama accountable. we can hold Obama accountable when he said this. Let's take a look at YouTube really quick. Okay, let's take a look at this, his quote. And okay, let's see. Let's see if this pulls it up. Okay, here we go. Let's check it out.
We'll celebrate America's Independence Day. We'll come together with family and friends, enjoy a day off. Maybe you'll cook out. I don't know how your grilling skills are, but some will take it.
Whoops, that was the wrong video. Let's see if this one pulls it up.
I don't just start saying things during an election. Real change isn't saying that you'll stand up to the lobbyists and the special interests when you've taken more money from lobbyists and special interests than any of the Democrats or Republicans running for president, like my opponent has.
Anyways, you can find his speech. Let me see if I can type it in one more time, like exactly how it is. Yeah, I don't know. They're really getting down on the internet, blocking a lot of stuff.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set. We've got to have a civilian national security force that's just as powerful, just as strong.
Yeah, let me tell you something. They did have the civilian national security force, and it was a bunch of dudes in plain clothes, men and women, that were do-gooders, that believed in the war on terror, that believed there's terrorists under every bush, and we had to, you know, give up our freedoms and give up our rights, and the spy state, the national security state, the surveillance, all of it that's been rolled out on us in the name of keeping us safe. You know what I mean? So here back then, Obama was talking about the civilian national security force that use militarized tactics on other civilians that are innocent through profile policing that has nothing to do with due process or you committing a crime even. It just has to do with political policing and torturing and abusing and running asymmetrical style, guerrilla style warfare on innocent civilians that don't even know what's going on. Okay, and that's what Obama's calling for when he's calling for a civilian national security force that is a citizen army, that's gang stalking, that's community-based policing, that's citizens on patrol, that's InfraGard, that's these dudes coming and showing up, coming and going, harassing you to keep things safe. It's sabotaging your property in your car to keep things safe. It's following you, coming and going, no matter what time of the day you come and go, they're coming and going at the same time. It's trauma, it's color sensitizing, it's sensitizing to other things that get your attention and keep your attention. It's on all levels. The war is with everything. I mean, you can go on a walk and you're in this war having intercepts run on you by members of the community who have been told you're a dangerous, radical Christian extremist that, you know, has to be watched. Okay, and so it's not just for the brown people in a cave. This whole apparatus of surveillance and high-tech communism is being overlaid over every nation, over every country. Okay. And so here Obama back then was calling for it, and Americans didn't even get it. They didn't. It went right over their heads. It went right over their heads.
Just as well funded. Continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set.
What do you mean, Obama? Like targeting Christians, conservatives, and gun owners, and people that believe in the Constitution because that's racist? I mean, because, I mean, they've got this whole thing scientifically laid out. I mean, they've used some of Marx and twisted it a little bit to, you know, and included the blacks, and even though Marx hated blacks, but yet, you know, these people are fighting against the white racist America, you know, just have to bring white racist America down, even though your leader and the one that you model all your ideology off of hated you. Okay, so I mean, I don't know what to say. I mean, many of you have to understand, like, if you're a part of these groups, you have to understand that Homeland Security and FEMA has spent a long time infiltrating and creating groups to suck you in. And you know what will happen is they'll just say, hey, go throw a rock or something or a brick at this person or at this cop car, and you end up doing it, and later on you find out, oh man, you're an FBI agent. Oh man, I'm going to jail. What? I thought you were into revolution and change and all these things. So it's a place like a honey trap, and it sucks so many people in, because of course, who wouldn't want to fight for rights? And we see true racism, so we think in our minds like that's what, if this group says that that's what they're representing, then that's what they're representing. But I mean, even during the time that Obama was president, BLM was meeting with him again and again and again. And Obama's world known for being a community organizer, especially in Chicago. And you just got to understand, community organizers have to do with communism, which have to do with the handlers who run the community-based agents that are on the street telling them to damage your property, interfere with your coming and going, and restricting your travel, isolating you, damaging your employment through smear campaigns, online smear campaign, I mean, whatever it may be. They use the Pegasus software now, law enforcement, to set you up, because this software basically from the NGO group that was sold to local law enforcement is now used to just frame dissidents. Oh, we saw you on a camera. Oh, that's your face. I mean, now with the technology that they got today, they can just text on your behalf as if it's you and just say that you're, making terroristic threats. And that's what they do to many, many innocent Americans. And it's time that we understand what's going on here. Okay, this is back in 2008, folks. 2008.
We cannot continue to rely only on our military in order to achieve the national security objectives that we've set.
Oh, what do you mean? So Homeland Security and FEMA is just going to train and fund civilians and start with the church, with the clergy response teams, and we'll work our way out into the community, but start with the church, and many of you that have gone to these 501c3 nonprofit cults, state-run cults called churches in America, really are just corporations. I mean, and they're run like a corporation. And we've talked about that before. But I mean, the clergy response teams were trained in military-style tactics of subversion and harassment. And they will torture you to death, because NDAA has been signed. Okay, NDAA, legalizing the torture of American citizens. All they have to do is call you a terrorist, and that's it. And it's over. No proof, no evidence, no nothing. Just, you're an extremist, your rights are suspended, they make you a person of interest, and begin the torture. Okay, they don't care if you've done anything wrong or not. Okay, they don't care about that. They just care about you being suckered by groups like this. I mean, many of you that are a part of this group, you have to ask yourself, why is a leader supporting an ideology in which the founder of that ideology despised blacks? Go look at his quotes. I mean, go look at his quotes. Okay, so suddenly, and we've said before, would you please look at the definition of fascism? Okay, because we've got like an amalgamation of all this fascism, socialism, communism, pick your flavor. It's basically all the same. But what you got going on, is just complete madness, And we've got fascists like Antifa calling America fascist, but then using fascist tactics to stop freedom of speech and freedom of expression on the street. So who are the fascists? This is what I mean about the Saul Alinsky tactics and accusing your enemy of being what you are, what you're doing, okay? And it's just a common tactic that's used. And she loves Marx, okay? So how can she prescribe to a man who hated her people and then promote his ideology that he was getting and receiving from the demons that he was in communication with? Okay. Colors 36 was the protege of Eric Mann, former agitator agitator of the Weather Underground domestic terror organization. I mean, boy, these guys are off to a great start. You know what I mean? I mean, they were named a terrorist organization, you know, and they would bomb police stations and do everything else. So we see the similarities. We see what's going on here. I mean, I think a lot of the Weather Underground were even arrested and prosecuted. So, and, but they spent years absorbing the Marxist, Leninist ideology that shaped their worldview. Okay, so the first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame, she says. Okay, myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. Okay, like I said before, these are trained, whether it's under the terrorism laws or under this virus, the community-based policing agents, the community-based agents, they're called CBAs, are going to be converted, the ones that harassed and tortured and killed and innocent people under the terrorism laws, you know, under profile policing. Those same people are going to be the contact tracers, okay? And I mean, it's a done deal. They're already doing it. So we've got a bunch of trained Marxists that are trained in revolutionary tactics, okay, to overthrow this country. And it doesn't matter what side you're on, right, left, they're all moving towards the same goal. And we've talked about the 1933 Banker Act. The reason they keep us in a national emergency, under a national emergency to suspend our rights, the way communism is rolled out with the crisis, that's the tyranny, the crisis that they create, and then they get on TV and pose as the saviors to the crisis that they themselves create. Okay, so that's what we got going on with the Hegelian dialectic. We should know what that is by now, which is a social engineering tool, okay? They create the crisis, then get on TV and they pose as the one with the solution after a long period of the two opposing forces being played off against each other again and again and again until there's no solution but the solution of the government coming in and taking away your rights to keep you safe. Get the way this works, and it's been done in world history. I'm just laying it out for you, okay? Here we've got this lady, one of the co-founders of BLM. We are trained Marxists, she says, myself and Alicia. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. Are you? I mean, are you so versed that you haven't read anything else that Marx did? I mean, really. I mean, all his writings were racist, basically, all of them, okay? So it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, so you're fighting for Black rights and you want to fight against racism by following after the ideology of a man who hated Blacks. Makes sense to me. And I think that, I mean, it's the same with Planned Parenthood and Bill Gates and his family and Margaret Sanger and the whole entire eugenics operation. And these guys can literally get on TV. Still to this day, Bill Gates can get on TV. He's not arrested and hung in the streets for being a eugenicist murderer committing war crime after war crime, basically. No. Let's just worship him and praise him and follow his advice. Okay, I think that's what we should do. And that's what the media does. It props up the criminals because the media in this Marxist type society is a tool for the state, not for the people, you know, not to expose the state, which it should be, but it's, you know, it's there to protect the state. And we got big problems when NDAA, the government themselves, sign a law, pass a law to legalize propaganda on the American people, and then they want to blame the civilians for fake news. Okay, that's the way this government works. Okay, we are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories, and I think that what we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many Black folk. Colors added in the interview with Jared Ball of the Real News Network. That just basically means, like, you know, have a wide open victim type mentality to draw in more people to be, you know, to create this citizen army. And while promoting her book, When They Call You a Terrorist, oh, kind of convenient, you know, kind of convenient that many of these groups that claim to be fighting terror are the terrorists. That's the funny thing. And, you know, I can't believe she even wrote a book like this, because many of the people that persecuted Christians, conservatives, and gun owners, and people that believed in freedom and the Constitution since 9/11 have been organized groups such as this, created by Homeland Security and FEMA, okay, to destabilize. I mean, all we have to do is look at the CIA and how much they go into other countries and create the two opposing forces to destabilize, okay? And that's what we got going on in the United States. Now, I'm not against blacks. Like, I'm trying to show you guys so that you can get free from the programming and free from the brainwashing and free from a fake grassroots movement that is controlled and run at the top by the criminal government that hates blacks, okay? Because if you want to get down to it, Karl Marx hated blacks, and he hated them probably more than any dude I've ever seen. I mean, it's like, dude, you know, the guy hated and despised minorities, okay? So why is this lady going around promoting that kind of ideology if she really cares about black people, okay? I care about black people. That's why I'm showing you this, so that you can get out of these organized groups. And really, there's not going to ever be a group in America that's not controlled at the top, you know, by Homeland Security, FEMA, and by the CIA, really. There's no group that gets to a certain size that the government doesn't have their fingers in, okay, especially with the surveillance that goes on and everything else today. So all of history shows these social justice groups being created by communists and the communist state and fake grassroots to suck people in, and they are there to run the struggle sessions on the community, to run the behavior modification, torture, pain compliance, okay? That's what's coming, folks. You know, above the law status to do whatever you want, above the law status to do whatever you want, and it has nothing to do with race. This has to do with bringing in communism and taking away all our rights. That's literally the probable deniability. And that's what I say all the time. The government, if it's going to abuse you, it always has the probable deniability, okay? They always have the probable deniability so that when you complain against their abuse, they can make you still further look like the bad guy by calling you a racist, okay? It's not racist to have, see, what they've done is they've defined America, freedom of speech, the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, all the opportunities in America. They've taken that and called it racist. The Bill of Rights, Constitution, due process, all that stuff is racist, okay? Meanwhile, your leader, Karl Marx, was the real racist, and it's just somehow you missed that. Somehow you're going to fight racism and do all these things, destroying buildings and burning things down, but you missed the one dude that is your founder, basically. I mean, that's where you're getting all your ideology from. So I don't think communism is going to help black people, trust me, okay? I just don't think it will. Look at history. You can call me whatever name you want, you can threaten me, you can do whatever you want. Just look at history. Just look it up. See, part of this and these groups and the struggle sessions that they run are in order to quell the chilling effect, to get you to stop speaking, to get you to stop talking. You know, we are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories. And I think that what we really tried to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many black folk, okay? And then she talks about, she wrote this book, When They Call You a Terrorist. Well, I mean, a Black Lives Matter memoir in 2018, Colors described the introduction to a support for Marxist ideology, okay? Oh, no, you're not a terrorist, right? You're not a terrorist when you burn down buildings and throw bike locks at people's faces and just beat them up just because. Indiscriminate violence. I mean, you support the Marxist ideology. She described, I mean, this is just a joke, because like you can't go do terrorist actions and then write a book saying that you're not a terrorist and that's not what it is. See, they always like to rewrite the narrative, rewrite the story. That's the way abusive psychopaths are, and they always do that, okay? She described to Democracy Now! How she became a trained organizer with the Labor Community Strategy Center, which she called her first political home. Okay, and this basically is like the threat fusion centers. Okay, she's just calling it something else. Under the mentorship of Mann, its director Bart reported, the center, which describes its philosophy as an urban experiment, uses grassroots organization to focus on Black and Latino communities with deep historical ties to the long history of anti-colonial, anti-imperialist, pro-communist resistance to the US empire, according to the outlet. It also expresses its appreciation for the work of US Communist Party. I know what we can do. We can just basically take a bunch of free Americans and force them to live under communism as the solution. And you're racist if you don't like it. The center also describes the philosophy as the urban experiment, uses grassroots organization to focus on Black and Latino communities with deep historical ties to the long history of anti-colonial, on and on. And that's really what it is. And they're experimenting on humanity with directed energy weapons and torture. Okay. So the behavior modification, like I've said before, it's not just censoring you online, but it's enrolling you in a watch list. Then it's harassing and sabotaging and destroying you every day. Okay. Pain compliance, behavior modification through torture. That's the way they do it. Bottom line. So, and the idea that they say grassroots. Nah, not grassroots. Proud Boys, Antifa, BLM, all of these groups are there to radicalize and destabilize and cause the civil war. Okay, that's the bottom line. They're there to radicalize, destabilize, and cause a civil war. It has nothing to do with race. Race is the probable deniability of these groups, and we can see the connections. We can see the connections. You know, if you go on FEMA's website, you go on Black Lives Matter website, they have the same agenda. You know, shutting down people's speech on FEMA for the coronavirus, shutting down people's speech, you know, just in general with Black Lives Matter, just for anything you say that's opposite of what they tout and believe and speak. Which just really shows, you know, like you can't use childish tactics to get people to just submit to you. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. And you can kill us and try to kill us, and it's not going to happen. That's what I'm saying. I mean, I'm just like, you know, I know who you really are. You know what I mean? Many Americans are deceived. They watch too much TV, whatever. And like, I used to do that too. And I mean, I'm just saying, like, many Americans are deceived because they spend too much time being brainwashed and they have no idea what's really coming. But I just wanted to say this. We got to stop obeying the politics of obedience. We got to stop obeying. We have to call a complete halt to the deception. When the government speaks, it's lying. You just know that. They're not there to keep you safe. They've never kept anybody safe in world history. Not ever. Not ever. Okay, so the idea that the government is there to keep you safe or to play doctor is just a medical police state that we should resist with all our might. Okay, with all our might, whatever we got. Okay, so I just wanted to show this, guys, and I think it's good to take a look at this stuff. Till next time.